You begin with silence, not the kind that fills a quiet room or lingers between words. This silence is older, thicker. It stretches across frozen miles of northern Russia like a forgotten breath. Here, the air feels like it remembers something, something it won't speak aloud. They call it the Valley of Death, but not because of ghosts or violence or bones. They call it that because when people go in, they often don't come back. You lie beneath a blanket, eyes closed, breathing slow. But in your mind, you step into Yakutia, one of the coldest, loneliest regions on Earth. A place where the trees lean in strange directions, where compasses fail and even birds seem uneasy, where buried beneath moss and frost, something strange waits in silence. Not a monster, not a machine, but something that feels aware. And tonight, in the gentle safety of this bedtime journey, you'll go there, slowly, softly, guided not by fear, but by wonder. What lies inside a silence so deep that even time seems to hold its breath? The valley is called Olgadek, in the language of the local Ewenki people. It means place with cauldrons. It is wild land, remote, swallowed by permafrost and long stretches of boreal forest. The kind of place that does not need to be haunted because it already feels forgotten by the sun. Yet something here pulses beneath the stillness. Geologists have long been puzzled by this region. Deep under the moss and roots, the land behaves strangely. Pockets of heat flicker in the cold ground, as if some invisible stove is burning far below. The permafrost, normally rigid and unmoving, sometimes shifts here, melts, bubbles. It exhales steam on the coldest mornings. You walk across the snow-dusted floor of this hidden valley. The air is clean, but heavy, thick with scentless weight. The trees here seem wrong, somehow. They grow, but twist, as though they lean toward something that isn't there, or maybe they're trying to lean away. It's not easy to explain what the locals feel. They don't call it fear, they call it noticing. The way the wind sometimes stops all at once, like it's listening. The way tools left behind rust unnaturally fast. The way no animals nest too close, and birds make wide circles overhead. You stop. The snow crunches underfoot, soft and dry. The world is still, and in that stillness, something whispers through the wires of your brain. A question: is this land dead or just dreaming? The Valley of Death first came into popular consciousness, not because of a scientist, but because of a hunter. In the early 1900s, travelers reported finding smooth, dome-shaped structures rising from the earth, half-buried, metallic, and completely unnatural, like bubbles of metal frozen mid-breath. These were not buildings, not ruins. They had no seams, no doors, no markings. Some were small enough to crouch inside, others large enough to walk beneath, standing tall, always cold to the touch. Even in summer, local herders began avoiding the area. Their animals grew sick after grazing nearby. Some who slept near the domes spoke of vivid, disjointed dreams, or headaches that came like thunder and stayed for days. You walk in silence now, the wind barely brushing your cheeks. Your body is warm, bundled, but your imagination trembles with soft, electric awe, because there is science here, hidden beneath folklore. Heat anomalies suggest geothermal activity, perhaps remnants of old volcanic breath. The earth is not silent beneath its surface. It seethes, shifts, remembers. In Yakusha, molten rock lies beneath a crust that never thaws. Steam and gas sometimes push upward, looking for seams. Could the domes be natural formations? Hollow bubbles of gas-shaped rock, mineral shells left by time? Or could they be something we've never seen before, some artifact of a process not yet understood? You pause at a ridge and look down. Below, in the quiet white, a shadow curves in a near-perfect semicircle, half-buried, smooth, still. And you remember what one geologist said: "We think we know the Earth, but the Earth is bigger than what we know." Silence is a language, too. In this valley, it says more than sound ever could. It says, something happened here, and it might happen again. But this chapter is not about panic, not about paranoia. It's about patience. You let your breath slow. Let your heartbeat become rhythm. You let the mystery settle around you like snowfall. Because science begins not with answers, but with stillness, with watching, with questions that hum like quiet electricity under your skin. And so you stand, or perhaps float, in the calm, before understanding, the way a child waits before touching a frozen pond, the way light feels just before dawn, as you close your eyes again, wrapped in the warmth of your own room. You carry with you the quiet awe of this valley, a place where silence has weight, where metal lies buried in moss like secrets, where warmth flickers beneath a frozen land. What causes those hidden domes? What burns beneath the frost? What stories does the land still hold tight beneath its skin? These are the questions you'll carry with you, softly, into the next part of your journey, because next we'll follow the trail to the domes themselves and wonder, why do they hum? Asterisk, you find them hidden, half buried in moss and memory, smooth, metallic domes no one can explain. Some say they're ancient weapons, others say they sing. Your fingers trace the rusted seams as the ground hums beneath you. What creates metal shapes in places where no machines should go? The first reports came from hunters and herders, those who knew the land, not with instruments, but with instinct. They spoke of strange, bowl-like shapes rising from the earth. Some domes sat shallow and warm to the touch. Others were deep, nestled in swampy ground, nearly invisible from a distance. You imagine it now, kneeling beside a massive, rust-colored shell, half sunken in green-black mud. Its curve is perfect, too perfect, like something designed. And yet there are no markings, no carvings, no rivets or plates, just smooth metal, ancient and silent. Those who dared to enter some of the larger domes spoke of strange sensations, a ringing in the ears, a pressure in the skull, dreams that didn't feel like dreams. One man said he heard a low-frequency sound, like a slow heartbeat beneath the earth. Another said his vision pulsed in time with an invisible rhythm. When he stepped outside, everything became still again. These tales are easy to dismiss, but then again, so are many things we don't yet understand. Geologists have offered theories. Could these be iron meteorites, shaped by space and time? Or weathered remnants of long-eroded rock formations, rich in iron oxide and mineral sheen? But the metal here isn't like others. Some samples, when recovered, showed signs of alloying, strange combinations of elements not usually found together in nature. Others appeared hardened beyond what natural erosion could form. One fragment retrieved from the base of a shallow dome contained traces of tungsten and molybdenum, fused together in ratios rarely found outside of controlled environments. An impossible combination if Earth had made it on its own. You imagine scientists in quiet labs, peering through microscopes, testing for origins they can't quite place. And still, the land does not explain. Some believe the domes are natural, geothermal bulges or gas-formed cavities that filled with mineral-rich water and cooled into hard shapes. Others suggest something buried long ago, perhaps remnants of an old Soviet experiment left in secrecy. Devices left to rust in places where no one would look. But these explanations, however rational, still don't explain everything. Why do animals avoid them? Why do they appear warm even in the deep cold of winter? Why does the air around them sometimes feel electric? You lie still, safe in your blanket, but your mind floats over the frozen moss. You place your hand on the imagined dome and feel a slow vibration beneath the skin. Not a tremor, not a quake. A steady, living pulse. The people of the Ewenki and Yakut tribes have a different story. They speak of the domes as alugu, which loosely translates to cauldrons, though not for cooking. They say these domes are guardians or watchers. Some believe they protect the world from what falls from the sky, and there is precedent. In 1908, the Tunguska explosion flattened over 800 square miles of forest nearby. A fiery object, perhaps a meteor, tore through the sky and detonated. Before touching the ground, the shockwave could be felt for hundreds of kilometers. No impact crater was ever found, no solid debris, just a scorched land and an eerie stillness. Some say the domes responded to the event, that they flared with light or heat or energy, that they were not built by humans, but by the earth itself, or by something else entirely, designed to protect against threats from above. It sounds like legend, but it feels like a metaphor we haven't yet translated. You breathe deeply, let your body relax, and wonder if Earth had a defense system, would it look like this? Would it be hidden, buried, silent? Would it hum quietly beneath a frozen sky, waiting for something to return? There are no official investigations on record, not detailed ones. The region is remote, travel is difficult, and weather often brutal. There are whispers that expeditions sent into the valley have gone quiet, that equipment fails without warning, that data is lost, that people return confused or not at all. Of course, this too could be myth, or maybe just the fear of the unknown, but you imagine the scene anyway. A small research crew standing beside a dome, their breath curling in the air. One holds a device, it clicks, buzzes, then dies. The others glance around, the wind has stopped, and in that silence, forest seems to lean closer, then nothing. Your mind drifts deeper now. What if these domes are not machines? Not machines, not weapons, not shelters. What if they're antennas? What if they're listening not with microphones, but with mineral, tuned to frequencies far below human hearing, infrasound, earth hum, magnetic pulses, perhaps even the subtle warble of solar wind brushing against our atmosphere? What if these domes are geological ears pressed gently to the sky? There are patterns in nature we still do not understand. Magnetoreception in birds, synchronized tree blooming across continents, bees that detect electrical fields from flowers. Perhaps these domes, too, are part of something we haven't seen the full shape of yet. Something larger, something slower, because the earth does not rush. It thinks in centuries. It speaks in seasons. And perhaps these domes are part of its language, sentences written in metal and buried in frost. You turn now, your blanket warm around you, but your thoughts cool and wide. Somewhere in the cold of Siberia, the domes remain. They do not call out. They do not reveal themselves. They simply continue to exist, waiting, listening, breathing perhaps. And so you breathe too, long and soft, letting wonder settle like snow on your thoughts, because next you will go beneath the frost to explore why the ice melts strangely here, why warmth rises from the deep earth, and what kind of fire doesn't need a flame. You have traveled through silence, across frost and fire, and into stories the land does not speak aloud. You stood near the domes, strange, cold, and waiting. You listened to the ground, to the air, and to the warmth that rises where it shouldn't. You watched trees lean, magnets fail, and science pause to wonder. And now, as your eyes grow heavy and the journey fades, you're left with no answers, only stillness, only thought. Because not everything true is loud, not everything real is proven, and not everything strange is meant to be solved. Some places are meant to be felt. Some mysteries are meant to stay quiet, like the breath of the earth still rising beneath the snow. Sleep gently. Let the questions remain. The domes are still there, and they are still listening.